Now part of the Darkcast Network. Welcome to Indie Podcasts with a dark side. On July 15, 2013, Joy Blodgett returned home to Hartsford, Wisconsin for lunch and walked into her 19-year-old daughter Jessie Blodgett's room. Jessie was lying in bed, but something immediately felt wrong. And when Joy tried to wake her up, she realized that her daughter wasn't responding. Joy called 911 saying, quote, "My daughter is blue. I went to wake her up and I just got home for lunch and she won't wake up." First responders arrived at the home, but there was nothing they could do. Jessie was pronounced dead at 2:16 p.m. Now, it's interesting to note that just a few hours earlier, at around 8 a.m., Joy had stepped into the room to drop off some clothes. Jessie appeared to be sleeping, so Joy left for work without disturbing her. At the time, she had no idea that her daughter was already dead. Welcome, lambs. Welcome to a new episode of Love and Murder, Heartbreak to Homicide, your weekly true crime podcast telling you cases of relationship that turn to murder. I am your host, Kai, and in today's case, I tell you about a young theater student whose family trusted her killer so much that he was welcomed into their home, comforted them at her vigil, and grieved right alongside with them. So today, I'm telling you the case of the murder of Jessie Blodgett. After you listen to this case, want another one that'll make you think twice about who you trust? In the Patreon, we have a bonus episode that covers the story of two women who took in a struggling couple, only to discover that sometimes the people you invite into your home can become the biggest threat to your safety. I told the Lamb Fams a case of Afton Ferris, and you can get that case, also ad-free listening, so you wouldn't get this intro or any ads in this case, exclusive content, and more true crime stories with my commentary that you won't hear anywhere else by joining the Patreon, patreon.com/Love and Murder. You get this bonus episode of Afton Ferris by joining the Lamb Fam at the $5 tier or above. Patreon.com/Love and Murder. I look forward to seeing you over there. But in the meantime, let's get back into this case of love and murder. Jessie was a sophomore at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee studying music education and theater. She loved music, singing, and performing, and had recently finished a run as the fiddler in the production of The Fiddler on the Roof. According to her father, Buck Blodgett, she was also passionate about speaking out against violence towards women. Quote, "Jessie's last big cause in life was male violence against women. She was just fiercely outspoken about that for a year or two before her death. The day before she was found dead, Jessie had performed in the play before heading to a cast party later that evening. She arrived home around 1 a.m. on July 15th and went to bed, making it appear to everyone around her that it was just another normal night. As investigators processed the scene, they quickly determined that Jessie's death was not from natural causes. Detective Richard Thickens said that he noticed injuries around her neck, explaining, quote, "I noted that there was a red mark running along her neck. There was more reddening to the right side of her neck." Investigators also found ligature marks on her neck, wrists, and ankles, indicated that she had been restrained before she died. What made the scene unusual was what police didn't find. Despite the injuries suggesting Jessie had been bound, investigators couldn't find any rope, no tape, or weapons in the room. The absence of those items led investigators to believe that whoever killed Jessie had taken evidence with them when they left. At first, police had very few answers. There were no signs of forced entry, and investigators needed to figure out who had access to Jessie and who might want to hurt her. One of the people they eventually focused on was Daniel Bartelt. Daniel Joseph Bartelt was a 19-year-old living in Hubertus, Wisconsin, with his parents, Laura, and her husband. Daniel and Jessie had known each other for years. The two met while attending Hartford Union High School, where they were involved in music and theater together. During their freshman year, they dated for about 3 months before Daniel ended the relationship. Even after the breakup, they remained friends, and according to Buck, Daniel was someone the family trusted. Quote, Jessie and Dan sit together at school. He was a straight-A student. They would write songs together and sing together. He was welcomed in our home. Their friendship continued after high school. In May 2013, the two recorded a song together, and in the weeks leading up to Jessie's death, Daniel visited the Blodgett home several times to play music and spend time with her. At the time, Daniel was living back at home after dropping out of University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point following a single semester. His parents noticed that he seemed depressed, and although he had stopped working at his factory job in March or April 2013, he continued telling them that he was still employed. So basically, you're following the pattern here. He broke up with Jessie, he dropped out of school after only one semester, and he quit his job. Sounds like he's going down a path of depression to me. 3 days before Jessie was killed, another violent incident took place. On July 12, 2013, Melissa Etzler was walking her dog at Ridgefield Historical Park when a man suddenly attacked her with a knife. Melissa fought back, later saying, quote, "There was just blood everywhere. I think that was like my fight or flight." During the struggle, a roll of silver tape, identified as Inner Tape 698, fell from the attacker's pocket. Melissa survived the attack, and the man fled in a blue Dodge Caravan. Meanwhile, detectives continued piecing together Jessie's final hours. As they reviewed witness statements and timelines, they learned that on the morning of July 15th, Daniel left his house at around 6:30 a.m. and told his mother that he was going to work. A witness named Bethany Garipi, I probably said that name wrong, told investigators that she'd driven past the Blodgett home around 8 a.m. and noticed a dark blue car parked in the driveway. When she drove through the area again around 10:15 a.m., she saw the same car was still there. The day after Jessie was found, an autopsy was performed, and later that evening, family and friends gathered at the Blodgett home for a vigil. Daniel was there alongside everyone else. According to Buck, he spent the evening hugging family members, sharing memories, and grieving with the people who loved Jessie. Quote, "He was just over the day after Jessie's murder, sharing hugs and memories and tears with us until the phone rang and he was called in for questioning." One of Jessie's friends, Moira Bolam, remembered sitting beside him that night. Quote, "I was holding his hand and I had my head on his shoulder crying. He squeezed my hand in comfort." While Daniel was attending the vigil, investigators wanted to talk to him about the attack on Melissa Etzler. Police contacted him and asked him to come to the Slinger Police Department for questioning. So remember the phone call? That's what it was about. During the interview, Daniel admitted attacking Melissa, telling investigators, quote, "I wanted to scare someone else because everyone else looks so comfortable." What? That doesn't even make sense. After making that admission, he requested an attorney and was arrested for the Ridgefield attack. The next day, July 17th, investigators interviewed Daniel again, this time about Jessie. He denied killing her and, quote, he indicated that he had last physically seen her the prior Monday or Tuesday of that week, some 6 or 7 days earlier. But during that same interview, Daniel made a statement that immediately caught investigators' attention. Quote, "I think someone raped and murdered her." The problem with that was investigators had never publicly released that information. Daniel also told investigators that he had been at Woodland Union Park on the morning Jessie was killed. That statement sent detectives in a new direction, and the following day, Detective Richard Thickens went to the park and began searching through trash containers. What he found there would become one of the most important pieces of evidence in the entire case. Inside one of the trash cans, investigators found a cereal box. Now, at first glance, it probably didn't look like anything important. But when they opened it, they found bundles of yellow, black, and white climbing rope, bloody sanitizing wipes, paper towels, and strips of silver tape. One item immediately caught the investigators' attention. The tape was Intertape 698, the same tape that had fallen from the attacker's pocket during the struggle with Melissa. Suddenly, the attack on Melissa and the murder of Jessie were starting to look like they were connected. As investigators processed the contents of the cereal box, the evidence continued to pile up. Daniel's DNA was found on the bloody wipes, a tan rope, and a bootlace. Jessie's DNA was found on climbing rope recovered from the box, and her hair was found attached to black electrical tape. The discoveries didn't even stop there. There was more. On July 19th, investigators re-examined Jessie's injuries and determined that the ropes recovered from the park were consistent with the ligature marks found on her neck. Then, on July 20th, police executed a search warrant for Daniel's home. During the search, they found additional ropes and tape similar to the materials recovered from Woodland Park, along with a black plastic cable zip tie, baler twine, and 2 books titled The Interpretation of Murder and The Pictorial History of the World's Greatest Trials from Socrates to Eichmann. 2 days later, investigators returned to the Blodgett home. Police had already searched Jessie's bedroom after the murder, but this time they took another look beneath her bed. During that search, they found a roll of silver Intertape 698 underneath the footboard. When forensic testing was completed, investigators discovered 6 fingerprints on the roll of tape, and all 6 belonged to Daniel. As detectives continued building their case, they also examined Daniel's laptop. According to the investigation, they found searches for Serial Killer Wiki and lists of serial killers by number of victims. They also discovered a novel Daniel had written titled Red is Red, which included a character named D, who beat another character into a coma using a pillowcase filled with Legos, while another portion focused on a character named Jessica and her college experiences. Meanwhile, forensic testing continued producing even more evidence. Deborah Caralla testified that Daniel's DNA was found underneath Jessie's fingernails. Investigators also found his semen on vaginal swabs collected during the autopsy. Dr. Linda Biedrzycki documented patterned injuries on Jessie's wrists and ankles that were consistent with being bound by ropes and bootlaces recovered from the cereal box. By the end of July, investigators believed they had enough evidence to charge Daniel with Jessie's murder. And on July 31st, 2013, he was formally charged with first-degree intentional homicide. As the case moved towards trial, the focus shifted from the investigation itself to whether some of the evidence should even be allowed into court. The defense argued that Daniel's Fifth Amendment rights were violated, claiming that once he confessed to attacking Melissa and requested an attorney on July 16th, he was effectively in custody, and all questionings should have stopped. According to defense attorneys, investigators violated the Miranda Edwards rule when they interviewed him again on July 17th without an attorney present. But you haven't said that he didn't murder her. So you're just fighting the technicalities of it. And this is what you're proud of. Because Daniel mentioned Woodland Union Park during the second interview, the defense argued that everything discovered as a result of that statement should be excluded from trial. So the whole trial should be excluded is what you're saying. Their argument was based on what is known as the fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine. If the second interview was improper, they argued, then the ropes, tape, DNA evidence, and everything else recovered afterwards should be excluded. So basically, all your evidence, well, all the prosecutor's evidence, which means the entire case, and your client, who looks like he's trying to be a serial killer, should walk free to kill again, right? Is that what you're telling me? The murder trial started on August 11th, 2014 in West Bend, and on August 18th, 2014, the defense's motion to suppress Daniel's statement and the evidence recovered from the park was denied. Over 7 days, prosecutors presented what they described as overwhelming physical and forensic evidence linking Daniel to Jessie's murder. The prosecution, led by attorney Mark Benson, argued that Daniel meticulously planned the murder and then attempted to hide the evidence in a public park. They pointed to the fingerprints found on the tape beneath Jessie's bed, the DNA found underneath her nails, the evidence recovered from the Woodland Union Park, and the similarities between Jessie's murder and Melissa's attack. Basically, everything that the defense wanted thrown out. Prosecutors also argued that Daniel planned the crime and targeted Jessie because she was convenient and because she did not want to resume a romantic relationship with him. The defense, led by the State Public Defender's Office, continued challenging the investigation and the evidence collected during it. Attorneys pointed out that investigators did not find the roll of tape underneath Jessie's bed during their initial search and only found it after discovering similar tape in the park. They said that this delay made the evidence seem suspicious. But despite the DNA and fingerprints, Daniel maintained his innocence. So the fact that they went back and did find that exact tape under her headboard, to me, yes, I'm going to be honest, that is kind of suspicious. But I mean, there's so much evidence out there that I don't think they had to plant more evidence, you know? But that if everything was circumstantial and his fingerprints were not found anywhere, then that would lead me questioning the finding of that tape. But this dude's fingerprint was everywhere, even under her nails. Like, I mean, you can't really explain that away. You know what I'm saying? So that's the only reason I don't find that suspicious. How about you? Let me know in the comments below. In maintaining his innocence, Daniel said, quote, "This jumpsuit that I'm wearing, these shackles don't make me guilty. I know there's evidence that I can't refute that would make you believe that I am guilty." So he claims that there are reasons for the evidence, but, you know, he just couldn't think of those reasons. Give me a couple days, I'll think of something, but I just can't think of those reasons right now. So after 7 days of testimony, the case was handed to the judge, and on August 19th, 2014, jurors found Daniel guilty of first-degree intentional homicide. The case then moved to sentencing, and on October 14th, 2014, Judge Todd Martins addressed the court before imposing a sentence. Quote, "I find that the gravity of this defense, the premeditation, the brutality, is so overwhelming, I think the Blodgetts are entitled to know that even after they're gone, there's no chance the defendant will ever walk the streets again and endanger someone else." With that being said, I figure you can guess where this is going. The judge sentenced Daniel to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Just over 2 weeks later, on October 30th, 2014, Daniel was sentenced in the Richfield attack on Melissa. For that crime, he received an additional 5 years in prison. During the sentencing hearing, Daniel addressed Jessie's parents directly. He did not provide the answers that they had spent more than a year searching for, but he acknowledged that he couldn't explain what had happened. Quote, "I can't give you the reasons you're looking for. There's no hiding from yourself in a tiny concrete cell." Then it was Buck's turn to speak, and what he said surprised many people in the courtroom, including me. Quote, "I not only forgive you, I love you. I hear you and everything, but that couldn't be me, because it's going to take 3 officers beside me and probably 5 more between me and you for me not to jump over whatever is surrounding us." And I'm going to say all these officers, so what did I say, 8? All these officers still won't make me stop trying. I will try until my dying breath to get over to you. And it's going to take all of them and probably even more. It's probably going to take the lawyers, the judges, and everybody in that courtroom to try and hold me back. But I'm going to tell you right now, I am not ever, never, ever in the everest of evers. I will not be the one to say I forgive you, and I will never tell you I love you. Those words caught many people off guard, especially considering everything that had happened. Later, Buck explained exactly what he meant. Quote, I didn't mean it like I like him, like I want to hang out and watch Packers game, but like a willful act of what I want to bring to this world, which is the opposite of what he brought in and took out of this world. Again, I hear you, but that's not me. Nope. And I know some of y'all are like, oh, Kai, that's so mean. No, I hear you too. And I'm going to say no. I don't care. Somebody takes my child. I'm not forgiving them. I'm never forgiving them. Even after the conviction, the legal process wasn't completely over. Daniel later appealed his conviction, but in 2018, that appeal was denied. Do you see what I'm saying? Why am I forgiving you and you're not even taking accountability? You're steady sitting here. I'm trying to appeal. Like, not only that, you never actually said you did it. So no, I'm not forgiving you. While Daniel remained in prison, Buck found a different way to honor Jessie's memory. In 2016, he founded the Love Hate Project, an organization focused on preventing violence and promoting the idea that love is stronger than hate. Quote, we believe that violence tends to happen a lot less in the presence of love and a lot more in the absence of love. Over the years, Buck continued sharing Jessie's story, speaking about violence prevention and the impact her death had on so many people. More than a decade after she was killed, the case was featured on an episode of 2020 titled Her Last Note in January 2026. But let's not forget that long before the television specials, court hearings, and headlines, Jessie was a 19-year-old college student who was planning for the future. Instead, on July 15, 2013, her family was forced to make a 911 call no parent ever wants to make. And that is the case of the murder of Jessie Blodgett. What are your thoughts on this case? You heard mine, and just to wrap it up, I wouldn't have forgiven him. I mean, I know I didn't make that abundantly clear, but to clarify, I wouldn't have forgiven him, especially the fact that he's never actually come out and said that he's done it. I think when he said you can't hide from yourself in the jail cell, I mean, that was the closest he came, but still, he didn't say that. He still didn't say anything. I went up and looked for the quote. He says, I can't give you the reasons you're looking for. There's no hiding from yourself in a tiny concrete cell. He still didn't come out and say, I'm sorry for murdering your daughter. I did it. I'm so sorry. He didn't say any of that. So it's like, why would I give him the satisfaction of me forgiving him? And I hear what Buck is saying. I hear it. I'm not, it is what it is. Everybody's different, but I know that I couldn't. And to be truthfully honest, to be blatantly honest, even if he did say, I'm sorry, I murdered your daughter, I am so sorry, blah, 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 whatever, unless it came out that he had like a psychotic break, like it's factually stated he had a psychotic break. He was in the throes of some type of hallucination. He didn't even know that was her. He thought he had entered a dimension, as they may say, like, but he's in a hallucination that, he saw a monster or something like this. Other than that, if he's just some dude who was like, I just wanted to know what it felt like to be a serial killer, it would take the jaws of life to keep me off of you. I'm not forgiving you. So I know some people are like, Kai, that's so mean. I understand, but I'm only human. So I want to hear from you. What do you think was the most shocking part of this case? Do you think the evidence that the investigators found was very shocking? Do you think the way Daniel was acting while he completely knew that he's the one who did it? He was at the vigil. He was holding everybody's hands. He was hugging his parents and everything like that. Do you think that was the most shocking? Or do you think Buck's decision to forgive the man who murdered his daughter was the most shocking? Personally, that's the most shocking to me. What about you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you'd like even more true crime cases, then you can head on over to our Facebook page. Just go ahead and follow Love and Murder, Heartbreak to Homicide on Facebook, where we have like 1 to 2 minute case videos I'm trying to do it every day. I haven't gotten to be able to do it every day because it's time consuming. But, you do get extra cases over there. But if you want even more, like bonus episodes, ad-free listening, you want to help me, like support me to continue telling the victim stories, keep this podcast alive and keep it listener funded, then join us over in the Patreon as part of the Lamb Fam, starting at only $3 a month and above. Now, someone did ask me very, very recently, what different tiers do I offer into Patreon and what do they get at the tiers? So, since this is the end of the episode, let me let you know, just in case you're one of the people who was wondering. So in the Patreon, you do have a free tier. You can sign up for free, which with the free tier, I may post a bonus case, like an article here and there, something that I read or something that I wrote. You might get that. You might get some social media posting, stuff like this. But you definitely would get every episode that comes out. So you don't miss an episode by being part of the free tier. Then there's a $3 tier. You get everything in the free tier. Plus you get ad-free listening, intro-free listening. So we just get into the case. And you get the after show whenever I do put out after shows. So you do get some bonus episodes at the $3 tier. Then to really get into the bonuses, that's at the $5 tier and above. So at the $5 tier, you definitely get everything in the free and the $3, plus you get one bonus episode a month. And at the $10 tier, you get everything in the aforementioned tiers, plus you get an additional 1 to 2 episodes a month. So that is what you get. Those are the tiers that I have, and that's what you get in each individual tiers. So just go into Patreon and whatever is it, like if you want to hear my voice more for some reason, my storytelling, more cases and stuff, or if you just want to support the podcast, then you could definitely do that at the $10 tier. If you just want to hear one more bonus episode, then the $5 tier. If you want to get into the after shows, then the $3 tier, and such and such and such. Anyways, hope that helps. If anybody had that same question that somebody sent me, you can join the Patreon at patreon.com/love and murder. I do look forward to you being part of the Lamb Fam because that does help me, keep the lights on. This is a full-time job, as I keep telling you. I'm working 12-hour days. Yes, I'm sitting in a chair, but, that is a lot. I'm still working 12-hour days, researching, writing, editing, recording, all of that stuff, making sure everything is accurate, correct, and I'm putting out something that's beneficial to both the listeners and the victim's family. So this is a complete full-time job. This is my job. This is all I do. So either way, your support helps me out. If you're just a free listener, that helps me out. If you join the Patreon, that helps me out even more. If you go over to the Facebook and subscribe there and engage there, that helps me out as well. And yeah, that's it. So I do look forward to you being part of the Lamb Fam, patreon.com/love and murder. And like I like to end every full episode, I want to remind you that it's, say it with me now, all love and no murder, y'all. Thank you for joining. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Bye.